Hey, what's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. Today I'm going to be showing you guys how to get higher FPS in Fortnite, which is probably one of the biggest issues people have with the game. Me especially, I always have, an issue getting high FPS in the game, but with these few tips, you guys will definitely see some pretty dramatic increases in your FPS in the game, and it'll make it a very, enjoyable experience, because when you are playing the game getting really low FPS, the game is really not as fun as times when you're getting really high FPS. And yeah, hopefully this will help you guys all out. We're going to be starting out the tutorial here of me going through my in-game settings that help me out, and then we'll be going and doing a few things out of the game on your PC that'll help you guys out as well. This is just for PC people, not really console. I'm not really sure there's any graphics like options that you guys can switch for console, and you guys are capped at 60 FPS anyway, so I'm not sure if there's really too much to do over on that end. But I'm going to hop in and show you guys the settings that I am using. Now, it kind of depends. You guys can actually, let me just hop into the settings here to show you guys. So for my display mode, I have it on windowed full screen, and that's just kind of a personal preference. For me, it seems whenever I have my display on windowed full screen, it seems like the game runs a lot smoother. Now, that's just personally my experiment, but for a lot of people, full screen should be the thing to use. Especially if you guys have a lower end PC, because then you guys can put it down to 1600 by 900 or 720 resolution. So that will help you guys out, because when you guys have it on windowed full screen, you're capped at 1920 by 1080. But for some reason, and this is for every game on my PC, whenever I run it on windowed full screen, it always seems a lot smoother on my 144 Hz monitor. So if you guys have that, try out windowed full screen and see if it looks any smoother for you guys. But if not, go back to full screen. Don't do it on windowed, so either full screen or windowed full screen. And if you guys have a lower end PC, I would probably recommend going 1600 by 900 resolution. I've tried 720, it really wasn't too great. You couldn't see anybody very far away. It does kind of give you a competitive disadvantage. So I would probably say 1600 by 900 is the lowest I would go as far as resolution goes. Moving on to frame rate limit, that just depends on your monitor. If you guys have a 60 Hz monitor, cap it at 60. Or you guys can also cap it at 120 if you guys have a 60 Hz monitor. It really doesn't matter. You don't need to cap it at 60, because most PCs should be able to hit 120, and it really doesn't matter too much. The only thing that you guys should not do is have it on unlimited FPS, because that's basically just going to use up tons of resources on your PC that doesn't need to, and it's going to be maxing out your graphics card, which you don't even need to do. It's going to create a lot more heat, and it may even give you some more stutters in game. So just keep it on whatever your monitor refresh rate is, or one step higher. So I have it on 144 usually, because I have a 144 Hz monitor. But you can also put it at 160, just one notch above what your monitor refresh rate is, or you can put it right on. Either one is fine. Nothing here really matters too much. Brightness is completely up to you. Colorblind modes, they're really not a thing anymore. They used to kind of give you an advantage from looking into the storm, but that's not really a thing anymore. So colorblind mode, you do not have to have on. And I'll also make a dedicated video going over all the best settings in the game. This is just going to be FPS and graphic settings. Moving on here for quality, I have my 3D resolution on 99%. Now, the reason I have it on 99 is because for some reason, if you turn your graphics or your 3D resolution down sometimes by 1%, it can give you another 15 to 20 FPS. It's a weird glitch, but just turning it down by 1% gives you tons more FPS. I don't know what it is, but I think it's just a glitch. So try 99. It's not going to make any difference really in your game. You're not going to be able to notice it, and you guys may get a pretty decent FPS boost from doing it. But if you guys have a lower end PC, I would recommend possibly going down to 80, but do not go below 80, or else everything's going to be so hard to see. You aren't going to be able to basically do anything. So don't go to 720p, and don't go below 80 3D resolution. That'd be my tips for the lower end PC people. Moving on to view distance, you guys can have that on far. Far is perfectly fine. You guys will be able to see people from a really long distance. Epic's pretty unnecessary. It really doesn't give you any more visibility, and it bogs down your FPS a little bit more. Shadows, you guys are going to have that off, because it actually does give you a disadvantage, because when you're in trees and buildings, it can be really dark in the shadows of it, and it'll be harder to see people there, especially if they're wearing a darker skin. So turn shadows off, and it will give you guys an advantage, and it's a massive FPS booster. It'll give you guys tons more, and you guys will notice it right away. Into aliasing, that's basically how clear things are from far away. Now, if you guys really want to see good things like better far away, then you guys can go with medium. Medium's a decent setting. It really won't affect your FPS too much. I have mine on off just because that's what I'm used to, but medium's also a decent thing that you guys can do. Moving on to textures here, you guys can have that on low. The difference between low and epic really isn't too much. You guys won't be able to tell a ton. Effects also have that on low, and post-processing have those 3 on low. They really won't make your game look any different, and they'll give you a lot higher FPS. Moving down here into the advanced graphics, you guys are going to have VSync off. All it does is sync up your monitor refresh rate with your game FPS so that you won't have any tearing. But it does come at the cost of response time. You guys will have crazy input lag, and it will basically, you'll feel like you're playing a few seconds behind in the game. Like it's not actually a few seconds, it's just a few more milliseconds, but you guys will be able to feel it. If you guys are a really picky gamer, you guys will be able to tell. Motion blur, have this on off. It does kind of make it harder when you're in those close range shotgun battles to flick around and get people, because it's going to be, blurring, and also it gives you lower FPS, so definitely have that off. Then DirectX version, you guys can have this on 11 or 12. 11 is the most stable, and that's what I use. I really haven't experimented with 12, but if you guys want to, you guys can switch it over to 12 and see if it increases your FPS. That just completely depends on your PC and when it was made. If you guys have a newer PC, then probably go with 12, but it may crash sometimes. I just like to stick with 11 because my PC isn't brand new, but it's still pretty decent. But I've had no issues with DirectX 11, so that's what I stick with. Then allow multi-thread rendering. In most cases, if you guys have a half-decent processor, then turn this on. But if you guys have like a single or dual core really old CPU, then you guys can have that off. Just test both of them out and see what one gives you higher FPS. But in most cases, if you guys are using a relatively new PC, then have it on, and you guys should be all good there. Use GPU crash debug, just turn that off. It really doesn't do anything. It'll just alert Epic Games when there is a when your game crashes. So it really doesn't do much there. We're gonna move over here into these settings though real quick, because I do have a couple settings that will help you guys out a ton. Now it's under the replays. Record replays, have that off. Record large scene replays, have that off, and then creative replays, have that off. Now, I know a lot of people, are all into VOD reviewing because it will really help you out as a player. However, your FPS goes down a lot, and the best way I would say probably to, if you really want to improve and look at your own footage, is use something like OBS or whatever graphics card you have, the AMD software or Shadowplay. Record your games and then watch it from there, because that won't affect your FPS as much as replays do. It actually gives you like an extra, maybe 15 FPS, which is actually quite a bit when you really think about it, especially if you guys are playing in that 90 range. It'll boost you up over 100. So turn all your replays off. I think that should be all the different settings in the actual game itself. I'm going to be giving you guys a few tips out of the game and things that you guys can do that will make your PC run faster, as well as get you at higher FPS in every game that you play, not just Fortnite. So we're going to hop into that right now. So the first thing that you guys can do out of game to help you guys get higher FPS, and you can also do this for any game that you guys are playing, is go into your task manager, type it in the little search bar down there in the bottom left, click on it, and it'll bring you up to a menu just like this. Then you'll see a little menu up here, and it'll start out in processes. All you guys want to do is go over to details. Then you guys will find your Fortnite game. It should be relatively near the top. And as you guys can see, there's 3 of them. So the way you can tell, or the one that you guys basically want to change would be the one with the highest memory usage, as you guys can see over here. Then you guys can right click that one, hit set priority, and then you'd put it on high right when you launch the game. It defaults to normal. The only bad thing about doing this is every time that you relaunch the game, you are going to have to reset the priority. So every time you launch it, you will have to reset it to high, but it will give you about an extra 10 FPS is what I've come to find. And you guys can do this with any game that you guys play. If you guys play Rainbow Six, CSGO, anything like that, you guys can hop in and do the exact same thing. Just look for the version of that game that is using up the most memory. Right click it, then set the priority on high. Some people may be wondering why you shouldn't put it on real time. I don't really know why. It just decreases your FPS. I'm not even gonna lie to you guys. So don't put it on real time. That actually decreases your FPS. High is the most ideal one that you guys should be putting it on. Then once you guys have it on there, it'll just hit, you want to change the priority, and then you just hit yes. Then you guys can exit out. You don't have to save anything, and you guys should be all good. Now another little tip here, I'm just going to go over this really briefly. Whatever drive you guys have Fortnite installed on, try to have a reasonable amount of space left on that drive. Don't put it on like your main, it can be on your main drive. But if you have multiple drives, try to put it on your fastest drive or your SSD if you have one, because the map will load a lot quicker. But if you guys have one drive that has a lot less clutter on it than others, try to put it on that one. Keep it in a relatively, you know, uncluttered drive. That'll help you guys out a lot for loading times, and also that does translate over to your FPS. So that'll help you guys out. Don't put it on a drive that's already like 95% full, because then the game's going to run like crap and it's going to be really slow and just really choppy to play. So try to put it on a relatively clear drive. Alright, so the next thing that you guys are going to do is use an app called CCleaner. I have it installed right now on my PC. Then you guys can just hit cancel here, and then it'll bring you up to a menu like this. And then here's your CCleaner. Now I'm going to leave a download to this down in the description below. Basically what it is, it's just a program that will go through, get all the unnecessary files off your PC, and basically it'll run a lot faster and it'll boot a lot faster. It'll overall make your PC feel like it's brand new again. Now there is a paid version for this, but this is absolutely free. When you guys get in, it'll pop up with that little thing like it showed me there, where you can pop in your code. You guys can just hit cancel and it'll bring you guys up to this. Then you guys would just hit health check and then just hit next and start doing it. I'm not going to do it right now because then it's going to close out of all your different apps that you're in, so I'm not going to do that. But you guys go into here, do your PC health check, and it will clear up storage. It'll get rid of tracking files, any, you know, viruses, malware, anything like that. It will get rid of for completely free. And you guys are going to see it in all, you know, areas of your PC. Things are going to launch a lot quicker. You know, things are going to load quicker. Basically, it's going to feel like you have a brand new PC again. And also that does translate over to Fortnite FPS and any game for that matter with FPS. So that's my last tip for this video. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed. I know FPS is probably one of the biggest issues, and optimization is one of the biggest issues that Fortnite has right now with it. I would love if they optimized the game a little bit more so people can get higher FPS. It really isn't too difficult. I think they definitely should work on that in the future. But for now, those are all my tips for how to get higher FPS in the game. And you guys can translate those off-screen or out-of-game ones to any game that you guys wish. So you guys can use that for Rainbow Six or any other game that you guys are playing. Hopefully you guys all enjoyed this video. I will see you guys all in the next one. Bye. I don't listen to